I spent the last few months building this map in Unity, but we've got a problem. None of it actually works yet. So, in this video, I'm going to turn this into a playable game where you can use a character to move around and move the camera around with it as well, starting from zero scripting experience. Originally, I had been working on Roblox for about 5-6 years, give or take, with time off and whatnot. Mostly the scripting and building side of the games. I have a few that have been released, but I recently started Unity. It piqued my interest, and I'm only really made things look good so far. So this is me learning coding on the side with you guys. So if you're in the same spot, this should help you get started too. In Unity, the easiest way to start is by adding a basic player controller. To do that, it's very, very simple. In your hierarchy, it shouldn't look as clustered as mine, but you can right click and then you can go to 3D object and then you can add a capsule. And what that does is it'll make literally a little capsule appear on your screen somewhere. Or the other option is you can go into game object here, 3D object, and then just hit capsule here. And it'll also do the same thing. So going to your capsule, I mean, we can probably put it in a better place so it's not not all the way over there in a tree. I think this is probably fine, just right above the ground there. The other thing I like to do with my capsule is name it. Since I've already got a player, we're just going to name it player 1. You can name yours player 1, you can have it as player, it doesn't really matter, because when you call the scripts to each other, it's more of a drag thing. You'll see later on. It's not, you don't have to type that one out. The other thing I like to do is inside the player, you can right click on it, and then you can do another 3D object and do like a cube. And what I like to do is give them some glasses or something. I'm going to pull this blue arrow out a little bit, and then I'm going to hit R to make it scalable. You can also use the things up here. I believe this is the... Here, where's the... Okay. So in here, you can have this little arrow selected, and this shows you all your tools. And then you can grab your... You can change by using Q, W, E, or R for all these different tools. See how they, like, you can select them all by clicking each one. We're going to click R here to do the scaling tool, and then we're going to make the green to shrink it down, and we're going to do the red so that it's kind of got some sort of face to it, you know. We're going to do the blue, and then we're going to hit W, so then you get the little arrows, and this will be the one that's selected. And you can drag it up to make kind of like little shades. He kind of looks like an Among Us character now. And then also when you select him, we can go into the box collider, and I'm just going to turn that off for now. So all you got to do is hit this little checkbox here and toggle it off. Another thing that we're going to have to do is make sure that we actually have a character controller thing inside of our player. So if you click on your player, you should have something called the character controller. If you don't, it's really simple. These are just things that control like the height and all the other stuff. You want to do add component, and then you can type in character controller, or I don't know if it's the first. Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be. So you just type in character controller, and boom, and it should have that popped in there. So the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set up a folder in our assets right here on the in the project section of there's, like, you know, there's different tabs everywhere. We have a project tab here, and your screen might be set up differently. I probably should have went over this at the beginning, but there's an assets here, and all you got to do is go in there and create a folder. The reason why we're doing this is because, as you can see, there's a billion folders in this thing, and they all hold either different assets. You know, it could be really anything that you, because I have a lot of free assets that I have in here. I have assets that I've bought, but I want to separate my folder where I'm building stuff myself to all the other folders. So in this case, I'm going to name this folder Robbie John's or I'll just do Robbie John YouTube. For you, what you could do is just put like your name or whatever you want to do, and then I'll go into there, and when we open up that folder, you'll right click in there. We're going to go to create, and then we're going to do mono behavior script, and then we're going to name that player controller. So now that we added a mono script, what we want to do next is actually add the input buttons so that we can have them communicate with each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click, we're going to do create, we're going to do input actions, and we're going to name that player controls. And the reason I have to put 2, like I said before, is because I already have a player controls that we're going to reference as we go. And when we open this up, we're going to have a pretty open looking thing here. So what we want to do is click here to add an action map, and we're going to call this gameplay, right? And then we're going to go into this new action. We're going to go into this to change it into a value, and we want to make this a vector 2. And what we want to do is call this move. And then when we go into here, we want to hit the plus sign again, add up, down, left, right, composite. So then we'll have a section of bindings for all of your keyboard bindings, right, for your ups. So you can do that. Obviously up would be the W, down would be the S for the keyboard. We have left would be A for keyboard, and right. Keyboard, actually, I just press D. There we go. And you have all those. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the jump, and we're going to add the sprint. So we're going to go into actions again. We're going to not have it as underneath these, so don't hit this plus, but hit this other plus above it. And then we'll call this one jump. And let's do it again. We can do sprint. And then what we'll do for the jump is we want to add a binding, and we'll have a couple here. So for this one, what we'll do is we'll use the path, and then you can do listen, and we can do the space. That's pretty basic for keyboard. And then the other one is gamepad, and I believe it is button south. So when you show the derived bindings, they'll tell you for the Xbox controller, all the other controllers. Basically, that's what you'll have for the X button, essentially for PlayStation, or I believe it's A for Xbox, and so on and so forth. And then we'll go to sprint, and we'll do the same thing here, where we will add a binding, and then we'll listen. And I'll do the left shift, or you could do left shift. I believe shift might cover all of them. I actually haven't tried this yet, but I'll do left just because that's what I'm more comfortable with. And then for the last part of sprint, we'll do the left stick. It'll be gamepad. I believe it'll be, you could do left stick press, and then it'll have the same thing for that as well. I believe that's what it'll be set up for. Also, don't forget to autosave or save asset, because you could toggle autosave on or off, and then you have to hit save asset, otherwise you can hit autosave. But just make sure that you have that set up so that you don't do all this and then it just disappears. There was one thing I forgot to do because I was just moving too fast. What you'll also have to do is put a left stick gamepad in there as well. So all you would have to do is go into your binding, and then you go in here, and then you can find the left stick gamepad under the under the gamepad. So you could do left stick, and then it would just show up just like that. But because I already have it, I don't need to add it. So now that we have our actual input created, and we have a script holder created, we can move those into our player. So if you select your player, script, you can either click and drag and bring it over, or you can hit add component. So if you hit add component and hit player, player controller 2, which is what I already had here, so it's the same thing there. And then you, like I said, you could also bring this over, see how it doesn't have the cancellation thing, so you could do that. You cannot bring this over, unfortunately. You actually have to set up a separate thing. So that now it's nice that I had player already typed in there. You want to add the player input. It's like a holder for all this other stuff, and then you have to do the click and drags here. So you'll do the player controls too, or if for you it'll be player controls. You can drag that over here. The default map, so these maps are what you use to those are the things that you set up. So when you have gameplay, when you open this up and you hover gameplay, it'll be all your boxes that we've made, you know, the sprint, move, and all the other stuff. And then the behavior you want to choose, you want to do invoke Unity events, okay? Because we have events that are going to be set up for our guy here. We'll script those in a moment, and then I'll show you how these events work, because you'll have to use the plus buttons and stuff to get them all put into the right place. So now that you have your script created, I want you to double click on it, and it should look something similar to this. It probably will be changed based on what you named it. This is the file of what you have named it, like we had before. And we're gonna try to do like a little speed run, because explaining every little thing is just gonna be a little bit more of a lecture versus just showing you guys how to do this. So this is what your script will end up looking like. If you'd like to kind of copy these down, take, you know, your little pauses to, you know, keep up and type it in there. I just kind of recommend, you know, deleting all of this, and then you can go down little by little. So basically, at the beginning of this, we're going to require a character controller within our character, and then we're going to have these different headers so that we can kind of separate what variable belongs to what part of what's happening. So like we're gonna have the normal speed is gonna be 4.5. 600 is the speed rotation. So like whenever your character steps a certain way, like let's say if you go from front to turning around, upping that this number here will make it faster, and then obviously lower will make it slower. And then we'll have our sprinting, we'll have our multiplier, we'll be able to tell whether or not they're sprinting, how long you have to hold before you can let go and continue to sprint, kind of like if you were to play Call of Duty or any of those other games where you just hold the sprint bar down or sprint button down and they just continue to sprint without having to hold it. And then you have your variable for having it locked, it's pressed, the timer. Then we'll also have the jump function as well. So we're going to make it so that you have a certain jump power. You can obviously change all these how you want them to. And then we have the max amount of jumps. So if you wanted a double jump, you can obviously change that to 1 if you only want them to jump once. And then we have gravity, which this is the basic gravity for Unity. I don't know why that number is what it is, but it is what I guess works the best for that. And then I have my own little gravity multiplier so that as you're falling, you know, it's kind of like a sped up progression, right? And then we have to define a couple more things like the camera, the controller, velocity, the inputs, jump count, obviously, so that we can count how many jumps you're making. This is the first part of the main script, sort of like when your script awakes and is being used. We're going to set the controller to get the component, so we're kind of setting what this actual controller is, and we're also going to be setting what the main camera is. And then as you come into here, the void update will be many different functions, and they'll be kind of provided below. So then we have the applied movement. If you'd like to correct all these, write all these down, just go ahead and pause like I said before. So you have the apply movement. You have like the different rotations. You have the forwards. Basically, we're using a vector 3 for all this. And then we have the actual move and determining by time and stuff as well, because if you don't have like the delta time, it's like if you were to move, there's no like actual insurance to make sure that it stays the same. Then you have to apply gravity, so you always want to apply gravity. So when it's updating, I believe update happens. Does it even have update in the other one? Once per frame. So there you go. So once per frame, this will update. So anytime somebody's clicking something, moving something, these will all apply. And the zeroing out when you have, I believe it was in movement as well. I did see it. Oh, it's right here. Sorry. So when you zero it out at every time you start up, it's like when you press forward, and for some reason, like if you were to let go, you're going to reset basically what you clicked every time this applies, like every frame. So that way things move really well. Obviously, we have gravity, we have the move. So then this will grab the value of your action, and then you have your sprint. The sprint works basically just by clicking and pressing it and making it true. And you have the timer, and then if it's locked, it just kind of checks through all these. It's nice that I had the little explanation things on there as well. And then we have the actual handling the sprint. So like when you press the button, what this actually does. So this is its own. When you see these are its own sections. Basically, you have it when you have these functions. You have these little open brackets here, and then it closes down here, so you can see it on both of these. See how that works. And then we have our jump at the end as well. So now that you've copied all of that, all you have to do now is grab your script, and then you'll have to drag it into your player. So I've already done it with this one, but I'll show you with the other creation of my scripts that I have. So if I go back into the player again and I drag this player controller over, it should look something like this. Here, I'll get rid of this other one because there's nothing going on with it. So you should kind of have like the same sort of setup. You should have a character controller in here. You should have a player controller with that's the script that you just made, so you can alter your own speed. So I did know that, or do note that if you change these variables out here, it does not change your actual script. So like, let's say if you were changing these and then you hit play, it will affect the character. But let's say if someday you accidentally delete this player, and you still had your script and then you pulled it back over, you would have these same default variables. So keep that in mind in case, if you find something you really like, I would definitely make those changes in your script. So now that we have our script created, we can go in here and plug in what our actual functions do into the events. So you should have your player input here. You should notice that your player controller script now has some variables that have popped up here. We'll go into the event tab under the player input. Then you want to go into gameplay here. And then you want to click and drag your player into this little target here under the move after you hit the plus button. We'll do the plus for all these. So you have the sprint, jump, and then you want to drag the player into all of them. So it's very simple because these will apply their functions to this target as their player, And then what you'll do is you'll go into the function, then you'll go into the player controller, and then just match it up to the move. So this is move. This one will be jump. And this one will be sprint. So now your character should be able to move around and you should be able to play as them. So we'll do a little test here quick. Okay, so it looks like our player is moving around, and you can jump. If I hold the sprint, he's moving a little faster. If I let go of sprint, he's still sprinting. If I click sprint again, he'll slow back down to normal. I can just tap sprint and he'll not, go into a full sprint unless I hold it down. So it looks pretty good. Let me check my controller as well. So left analog's working good. He's moving around. He's jumping. If I press the left thing down, left stick down, he's sprinting. So it looks pretty good. Everything's working great. So let's get started with the camera right away. It should be pretty quick and to the point, hopefully. So we've got our main camera. We want to make sure that the tag is actually main camera, and I have a little space in between here. I think that's how it's normally supposed to be. I think without the space, it kind of, for some reason, it doesn't register through Cinemachine the correct way. So we're going to go into our packages. So this is the packages manager. We're going to go into Unity registry, and you want to type in Cinemachine. And if you've already got it downloaded, sweet. If not, it'll say install. I'm using 3.1.6. So after we do that, we're going to go right into our hierarchy again here. We're going to go down to Cinemachine, and we're going to pick Cinemachine camera. So next, what we want to do is we want to go into the Cinemachine camera. We're going to change it to third person cam. And then what we want to do is we want to track the target. So our player would be our target. So what we're going to do is grab him here, put it into that. So then we have it. And then next we want to go into position control. And we want to do orbital follow, so that when you are following him, you can orbit around the character. And then we have this for rotation, and we want to do rotation composer. And then down here, orbital follow has no input access controller behavior, and we want to do that. We want to add a controller to that as well. The next thing you want to do here too is when you go into your third person camera, we want to go into the vertical axis here and change our range to 0. That way you don't go underneath the character, and if you have like like a plane or a map like this, that you don't actually look underneath the map. So just make this a 0, and then if you hit play, you can test it out for yourself, and you should be able to follow around and orbit the player. That is a super simple way of doing it. But we're going to keep on continuing and adding some more things to make it work even nicer. So to make some controls for our camera, we're going to make a new action map, and we're going to call it camera controls. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into this new action here. We're going to go into value, and then what we want to use is a vector 2. And then we're going to go into the binding, and we're going to call this, well, let's go to the mouse, and we're going to use the scroll. We're also going to name this mouse zoom so that it's easy to distinguish. So now that we have our mouse zoom set up, we want to make a gamepad zoom. So, oops, what just happened? There we go. So we'll name this gamepad zoom. And then what we'll do here is we're going to make this a value, and we want to make it an axis. And then we want to get rid of this binding here, and then we want to go back in and add a positive and negative binding. So then we can go into here and set our negative and positive zoomings for our camera through the gamepad. So we'll go into our path, and this is the negative. So you'll go into, I'll do listen, and I'm going to hit L1 on my PlayStation controller. So that'll say left shoulder. And then I'll do the path for the other one. We'll do R1 for the gamepad there. And that will set up our zoomies for our buttons on our controller and mouse. So now that we have our controls and our camera controls all kind of configured and put together for the buttons and whatnot, we want to go to our actual asset here, the import action thing that has, the camera and the buttons. And you want to go over to the inspector, generate C# class, apply, and that'll generate a script based on all the information that you had put in there. It's really nice that they can do that. Cool. So now that that's all done, we're going to create another script, and it'll be just like before, where it'll only have, we'll go to create, and we'll go to mono behavior script. We'll open this guy up. and we'll give you a brief. I'll give you a brief explanation of what everything is, but just like before, copy it all down, and then when it's all done, all you have to do is grab this script itself and then pull it into the third-person camera thing over here. And then it should work perfect. You can rename it to third... Oop, hold on here. It's glitching out on me. Third person cam controls. And there, that'll change that. Make sure that the thing up here matches as well. Matches the title of this. Oh, it's taking a minute here. Hold on, let's close that guy out and then reopen it. I think changing the name bugged it out. Yeah, I'm learning stuff too, guys, so keep that in mind. But everything works that I've done, so hey, you know, works good. Seems like it makes sense. So just to let you know, basically we want the class to be the same name as the script itself. Then we'll go down the line and kind of explain. We got the zoom speed, so when you zoom in and out with the mouse, or I believe the controller as well, it'll move by like 2. So it's not, you can change this number obviously, and this is how fast it'll like flick to it. So like you can have almost like a slower, you know, lerp to it. And then you have the minimum distance, so you want it to be from the character, and then the max distance. We have the player controls. This is what's going to represent your controls as far as the camera and stuff like that. Like we've already set up. Then you got the Cinemachine camera. We'll name that its cam. Cinemachine orbital flow, orbital, and you know, just going through, those are just all your variables. We got the target zoom and kern zoom. So this is the start. So this is what happens when you first boot up, and it'll only run once. And then you have the update that'll once per frame. Yeah, so, and then this handle mouse scroll, that's literally how we have it set up with the other thing, with the input. So when you're rotating through your scroll, or you're rotating with your bumpers, that is what will show up. And oh wait, no, sorry, the bumper is over down here, sorry, and it'll read the value based on your gamepad zoom. So yeah, it's pretty simple, and all you got to do when you're all done with this, you can hit Control S to save. I'll make sure it's saved again, and then you grab it and you come over to your third person camera, and all you got to do is grab it and drag it over to it in the inspector, and then it should work perfect. So let's do that now. Pretty sure I might have already, no, I did not. Cool. So grab it, drag it over, bam, we've got that. We've got the different speeds here. So remember, if you end up somehow accidentally deleting this third person camera, you'll have to reset your values and reset how we set all this stuff up. So it can be kind of annoying. That's why it's nice to have the actual script, so then you don't have to play with these values later on. You just have a set value. So we're going to hit play, and we're going to test it out, see how it goes. Hopefully everything goes nice. This will help too with the lerping and stuff, will help like with the rotation. So now that we click on the screen, our mouse has disappeared. You can walk around. It feels a little bit smoother, I feel like, than before. Things are nice. You can zoom in and out with the mouse. Let's test the gamepad. So we can rotate here. We can also turn the value speed up, I believe, with this as well. So if you guys are having issues with that, you can play with the values. If you just tap the bumpers one time, this is how much it zooms in. If you hold it, yeah, if you just tip it or tick it, you know, with your finger, that's about how much it zooms in and out. And you can just play with this as much as you like. But yeah, guys, I think we were kind of to that point. If you hit escape on your keyboard, you can get your mouse out of the lock state. And yeah, guys, it's pretty nice. I believe that this will be it for today. I appreciate everybody who stopped by. Again, if you guys like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. It'd be, you know, giving me a boost, morale boost. You know how hard it is when you start a channel up and you're kind of like, oh, I hope it works. I hope it works out. But yeah, thanks for everybody who stopped by and took the time to watch the whole video. And yeah, I guess if you guys like what I've done and you have any, you know, any more things that you'd like me to show you based on what I've already got, whether it's making terrain or, you know, just whatever you guys think that you need help with, just drop it in the comments and I'll try my best to help you out. So with that being said, appreciate you all. Take care. And yeah, that's about it. Have a good one.